month. Every month in the United States of America, read Booker T. Washington's Up from Slavery. All right, let's talk about where we are in the United States of America. Let's talk about what happened in November 2020. So many people want to say, hey, Carl, it's all about the dadgum Dominion voting machines, and they miscounted things. Let me tell you what really happened in November 2020. The left picked 4 Republican state legislatures, and they talked them out. In Georgia, in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin, and in Arizona. I mean, not Wisconsin, Michigan. 4 Republican state legislatures. And Republican state legislatures in those 4 states fail to understand that the people that are responsible for making law or amending law are state legislatures. Last time I checked the Constitution, that's what it said. The most powerful branch out of the 3 branches is the legislative branch. But instead, what happened is secretaries of state changed election law. Courts changed election law. Governors changed election law. And Republican state legislatures sat around and did nothing about it. They allowed it to happen. They allowed people to go in and say that you can accept ballots days after the election day. No governor could do that. They allowed the Secretary of State to go in and say that you don't have to have signature verification on mail-in ballots. And that was just a couple of months after the Supreme Court had come down and ruled against the South Carolina Democrat Party and said that you must have signature verification on mail-in ballots. We allowed the left to come down and talk about having mail-in ballots when our state legislators should have said, no, we're not having mail-in ballots. As a matter of fact, if you go back to last year, April the 14th of 2020, Eric Holder, y'all know who that guy is, right? Eric Holder is the chairman of the National Democratic Redistricting Committee. Eric Holder wrote an op-ed piece in Time magazine. And it was entitled, How Coronavirus Should Permanently Change Elections in the United States of America. And what did Eric Holder talk about in that op-ed piece, April the 14th of last year? Universal mail-in ballots. And we did nothing about it. It's not about the machines. Because really, when you think about it, elections are controlled at the county level. As long as we have strong Republican counties, of which President Trump won 2,700 of these counties all across the country, Joe Biden only won a little over 400 counties. So tell me, how could all of this happen? It happened because we allowed people to take Atlanta, to take Philadelphia, to take Milwaukee, to take Detroit, to take the major population centers in Arizona when we could have done all that was necessary to stop it. See, that's why for the Republican Party of Texas in this 87th legislative session, the number 1 priority for us, legislative priority, is election integrity. Now, why is election integrity so important? How many people here have read H.R. 1? Everybody here needs to read H.R. 1 from the United States House of Representatives. H.R. 1 is basically the Democrats' attempt to nationalize elections in the United States of America. Why do they want to nationalize elections in the United States of America? Because go back and study history. In 1994, in his first midterm election, Bill Clinton lost 54 congressional seats. Remember that? Newt Gingrich's contract with America. 10 years ago, Barack Obama, in his first midterm election, lost 63 congressional seats. I know because I was part of that wave that came in. They know what's going to happen in this first midterm election for Joe Biden. So what are they attempting to do? They're attempting to pass legislation that will take elections away from states, away from counties, and bring it under the federal government. H.R. 1 says that all across the United States of America, there will be universal mail-in ballots. H.R. 1 says all across the United States of America, you will have same-day voter registration, same-day voting. It says that all across the United States of America, you will have online voter registration. It says all across the United States of America, there will be no voter ID. All across the United States of America, there will be no reviews of voter registration rolls. And the last and most important thing, states will lose their ability to do redistricting. There will be an independent commission that does redistricting. And why is that so important? Because Republicans control 62 of 99 state legislatures in the United States of America. They don't want Republicans controlling redistricting. Why do you think that The Census Bureau is having a hard time getting the redistricting the census numbers out to us because they want to monkey around with those numbers. They don't believe that, you know, she says it's not mine, but she reached down and made it stop. I was born in the morning, but not this morning. Now some of y'all, when I was a colonel in the Army, I could have dropped her from push-ups. I can't do that. I just gotta let it rain. But the bottom line is this. The Democrats want to control redistricting. The Democrats, why are they flooding states like Texas and other red states with illegal immigrants? Because they believe that the census should be based upon numbers of people, not citizens. See, the problem with us is that we don't think strategically on the Republican side. These people are thinking 10, 15 years down the road. And that's why we are where we are. When we look at this progressive socialist takeover of the United States of America, this has been in the books for 50, 60, 70 years. And so we have got to think more strategic. We've got to understand that the real power in the United States of America is at the state level. That's why the founding fathers were so brilliant. They gave us a thing called the 10th Amendment. The 10th Amendment says very simply, all of those powers not delegated to the federal government are reserved to the states and to the people. When you study and look at what North Dakota, their state legislature is doing right now, how many of you have heard of this thing called constitutional nullification? North Dakota is saying if you are not passing things that are consistent with the Constitution, we're not going to follow it. Like all these executive orders. And they're right. They don't have to do it. As a matter of fact, when people talk about the Supremacy Clause, there are two very important words in the Supremacy Clause. And it says pursuant thereof. So the federal government is only supreme when they're passing laws that are pursuant thereof to the Constitution. If they're passing laws, if they're sending down edicts, orders, mandates, and dictates that is not pursuant thereof to the Constitution, you got to do it. It's a rowdy damn table. You sure you're a Democrat trying to mess me up? You're trying to make me lose my spot, but I was talking about supremacy clause. But the bottom line is I want you to understand is that we are not supposed to be ruled by executive order. So all of these orders up there being passed by President Biden. Hey, I'm a funny guy. But all of these things being passed, they're not binding. We are not supposed to be ruled. We're supposed to be governed. We have laws. We have a system. When you think about this whole thing about open borders that they're trying to do by executive order, if you go to the Constitution, Article 1, Section 10, Clause number 3, it gives the state the ability to protect its own sovereign borders. So we don't have to sit around and wait for the federal government. If we see an imminent danger, we have the right to be able to protect our borders. Texas, ladies and gentlemen, is the #1 state in the United States of America for human and sex trafficking. How many people knew that? The top 2 cities for human and sex trafficking in the United States of America are Houston and Dallas. And we want to have open borders. The Sinaloa cartel is openly operating in Lubbock, Texas. That's a danger. And so we don't have to follow these orders that are being brought down. That's why we need to have a strong state legislature. Election integrity is so important. The ability to be able to defend yourselves. How many people here have read H.R. 127 or H.R. 130? H.R. 127, H.R. 130, authored by a Texas member of Congress, Sheila Jackson Lee. Basically, it undermines your Second Amendment right. You will have to go to the United States Attorney General to get a permit to own a weapon in the United States of America. You will have to go through a psychological examination to get a weapon in the United States of America. Oh, and fellas, if you've been divorced, Your ex-wife gets to have a say on your application to get a weapon in the United States of America. Hopefully you have some friends with your ex-wives before you go and ask for a weapon. They even try to determine what type of weapon you can have in your home, whether or not it can be loaded, what type of safe it is in. This is complete undermining of our Second Amendment rights. At a time when they want more illegals, more criminals released into our society, this is the type of stuff that is happening. That's why constitutional carry is another one of our legislative priorities here in the Republican Party of Texas. Texas is like trailing Vermont. The Second Amendment rights. Vermont.
100 years.
Utah just came out and said that you do not have to have a permit to conceal carry in the state of Utah. Utah. Don't clap. This should be Texas. Not Utah. That's Mitt Romney's state. Okay? But what I'm trying to get you to understand is so many people are looking to us in Texas to lead. How many folks have been to the Republican Party of Texas website and know our 8 legislative priorities? 8 legislative priorities. Let me read them to you. And see, this is something that the military taught me. I always carry a little 3x5 cards. Okay? Election integrity, religious liberty. Why is religious liberty so important? Well, guess what they just passed in the United States House of Representatives? H.R. 5. H.R. 5 basically says that if you say anything against the LGBTQ, NMOPQRS agenda, as a pastor, you're going to lose your protections. You could be brought up on charges. It basically says that, we have now determined that a mental condition called gender dysphoria is now the same as being black. And now they have a civil right. It is now saying and codifying that if you are a gender dysphoric biological male, you can compete with biological females in sporting events. That's the end of women's sports. That's the end of Title IX. Even Martina Navratilova has come out and spoken out about that. So religious liberty. Monument protection. That's very important. Let me tell you something. I grew up down in Georgia. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. Some of y'all ever visited Atlanta, Georgia? Outside, there's a really big rock in Atlanta, Georgia. It's called Stone Mountain.
Yes.
On the face of Stone Mountain, you got Jefferson Davis, Robert E. Lee, Stonewall Jackson. Now, let me tell you something. I have not met a dead Confederate general that offended me. I'm looking for one. And I served at Fort Bragg, named after Braxton
I
Bragg,
was talking
a
to
Confederate
him,
general. I served, my last duty assignment was Fort Hood, Texas, named after John Bell Hood, a Confederate general from Texas. Didn't bother me. We've got to protect our
this
history.
was your
We've got to
old
protect our
class.
monuments. If we don't, then the other side is going to do exactly what the Taliban did in Bamyan province. They're going to erase history. They're going to do exactly the same as ISIS did. That's what the council
She thinks
is
that's
all
my
about.
class.
Is not revision of history, it's eliminating of history. And then your kids don't understand how
I'll
we
drink
got
it.
to
I'll
this
drink
point.
it.
Constitutional carry I already talked about.
I'm gonna
Ending the
give
murder
you
of unborn
Well,
children.
the COVID
Let me tell you something. What happened last
Just
week
saying.
on Monday? The Satanist Temple of Texas filed a lawsuit against the state of Texas because they said that the Texas laws on abortion violates their religious liberty because they have a religious ritual of killing babies. And they have billboards up in Texas. The Satanist Temple of Texas. Come on, we can do better. Child gender modification. Do you know that children, and this is part of HR 5, children are being convinced, even as young as the age of 6, to undergo hormonal treatments and puberty blockers. They're abusing our children. We cannot allow that to happen here in Texas. School choice. This is so important. I'm a product of school choice. My parents did not send me to 2 failing public schools in my community that I grew up in the inner city of Atlanta, Georgia. They chose to send me to a small black Catholic school. Taxpayer-funded lobbying. So often we have taxpayer dollars in Texas going to lobbyists that are up there lobbying against your interests here in Somerville County. or even in Glen Rose. That's got to change. We cannot continue to have that. One of the biggest lobbying episodes is that they're lobbying against school choice. They don't want to see a better education. And the last one that we have is executive overreach. How many folks here just saw the bill that was filed in the Texas House of Representatives last week, HB3? You need to read HB3. HB3, filed by a Republican, said that it's a $1,000 fine to anyone in the state of Texas if you disobey an executive order from the governor. This is what's happening. And so what we need you to do is get engaged. We need you to get informed. We need you to be educated. We need you to be activated. The municipal level elections coming up in May are so important. We have got to do a better job, and I'm so proud of you, ma'am, for stepping up to the table. We got to do a better job winning at our city council, school board, county commission, county clerks. That's where the rubber meets the road. Tip O'Neill once said, all politics are local. He's absolutely right. It won't be long before the left figures out, man, Glen Road's a pretty nice little place. California sucks. Maybe I'll move to Glen Road. You're laughing. Talk to the people in Kerrville. Talk to the people all through Hill Country. And then the next thing you know, slowly but surely, your area does not reflect your values. So we've got to be strong all across Texas. And we've got to start looking at how we can be stronger in our major urban population centers, which the left controls. The Dallases, the Austin, Travis County, Houston, Harris County. Look at what's going on in Fort Bend County, Sugar Land, El Paso County. You know the strength of what happened in Texas in last November? We flipped the Rio Grande Valley. We showed up in the Rio Grande Valley and we talked to Hispanics about their principles and values, and they said, yeah, you're right. We believe in our Judeo-Christian faith heritage. We want to see strong families. We want to see better education and economic opportunities. We don't want to see open borders. We don't want to see police defunded. We want better safety and security. And that's why it's a